Are we memeing ourselves into oblivion?
Yes.
All right. That brought us right into it. Hey, guys, what's going on? There's memes here, and here's the artist that may or may not have been formerly known as Auret Resistance.
Hey, thank you for bringing me on. And
as I'm blinking in and out of reality here, because obviously there's a little internet blip. That's totally hasn't been happening this whole time. But yes, apparently we're also broadcasting live via Twitch as well, via Lord Saether. So if anybody is interested in some of his potential views, he is a Norwegian centrist, kind of lefty something.
Oh.
I'm unsure of the relative perspective. I myself tend to classify myself as a Pathfinder. What's a Pathfinder? We're like Jedi. We just require more kyber crystals, but generally a liberal that believes in progress. So
yeah, so I'm very much not a centrist. I'm very far left. Like the last time we spoke, like on stream, I would be considered a moderate compared to like where I'm now. Like I'm borderline communist these days.
Oh no! I mean, you always gotta show some signs, but I mean, you're a logical individual, and I don't hear you talking about throwing people into a whole bunch of gulags and stuff. I think you're looking out for folks and everything. No, I mean that kind of mirrors my little journey as well. I tended to think of myself more of a centrist, conservative in a number of ways, and just with the experience of the past couple of years, especially being online, I'm like, I think I'm actually more left here. It's like if you remove the yelling, I think that's where I gotta line up a bit more. But hail to Joe Franco. Thank you for joining us, Joe. And you must remember, he's one of my patrons, and this show is helped made possible by viewers like you. Shout out to my patrons, Joe Franco and Dave M. Hey, do what you gotta do. But the reason I wanted to have you on today, Lord Saether, is I wanted to discuss what you had mentioned the other day about VIPs. And that was essentially, to my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong here, basically a government-provided payment processing app that basically doesn't have any processing fees.
It's not government-provided per se. So it's one of our the National Bank of Norway, I think. I think so. So it's like the bank that Norway, the state of Norway, kind of runs.
It's our Federal Reserve.
Yeah, I guess. So they basically made the app. So they are their own independent thing, but they are also under the government, kind of, to my understanding at least. But the interesting thing is that like all of the banks that are in Norway, at least all of the big ones, they have like something that we call a net bank, like internet bank, where you can just go into their website and you can just type in the bank account number of the person you want to send money to, and then you can just send money, and usually that's totally no fees at all. And then you have VIPs, which is like the revolutionary step to now you can do that with just the cell phone number, and you can just do it on your phone. It takes you like 20 seconds, and then it's done.
Okay. Now, because I do believe there are certain solutions here. I know there's a Cash App. I believe Venmo operates in a similar way as well. But the way you're describing it sounds like pretty much everybody knows about it. Because this is one of the things, no matter what industry you're in, if you've been in the industry, you kind of learn the ins and outs and just the most effective ways to do it. It's just a lot of folks, unless they've been exposed to that information, they don't necessarily know. That's why I'm like, if you have something that is extremely easy to use, it's basically, okay, if most folks end up at one point or another having a phone number, which not everyone does, but I'd say more folks have phone numbers than necessarily even smartphones.
Yeah. So basically, like I have it right here, and I can just show it to you. Like, so it's basically like you go into this little thing, and then you just log on, and then you just send money, and then you write in a phone number. Like,
I'm not sure if you have any personal information there. Hold on.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't. Write in the phone number and then find the person and just send it away. And you can send up to, I think it is 6,000 kroner, which would be like $650 ish, without there being any fees. But the thing is, you can do a $500 and then you can just do another $500, and there would still not be any fees.
Okay. So now my question would be, what is the benefit of using this over just like a standard third-party app? Because this is from the National Bank of Norway, so I assume there's going to be a bit more oversight than maybe even a Venmo. Again, I am unsure, but it's been a while. Again, full disclosure, I spent about 2 weeks in the payment processing industry, and then I feel like I got gypped on a paycheck and kind of explored other opportunities.
I would say that the benefit is that it's the easiest way to send money in Norway. Yeah, like you don't even have to have an account with that bank. Like you can have an account with a different bank, and this app would still work with that.
Well, this is the thing that's kind of gotten me over the past number of years, because I even asked my bank about this, because a couple of times it's like I wired some money. It's like, all right, I'm still getting banged for like 30, $39 or something like that, plus a certain percentage fee. And I asked them, like, we've had this technology for like the past, I don't know, 30, 40 plus years or so. It's like, why isn't it cheaper now? I'm like, if I can, literally bringing up like cat videos on Instagram or like on her cell phone, it's like the amount of data and electricity that was used right there is more than it literally takes right now to transfer this information from here to this information from there. I realize there are security concerns, but my big thing is if we have all these fancy levels of encryption, there ain't no special thing for the banks that they could say, hey, we're going to put this here. If anybody screws with this, we're going to unleash the full power of our intelligence agencies and bag you. I think that's something people could appreciate. So I'm saying if you could do it for less money, the consumer wins.
Yeah.
You're going after the folks that are actually like committing international fraud or doing something that's wicked illegal. It's like those I see as benefits, but then there's also the counter. It's like, oh, they know what I'm spending my money on. Maybe that's a bit more of a U.S. take on it, but I gotta.
Because the thing is, like, in Norway, for example, with this app, they don't necessarily know what you're spending your money on. Because, for example, if I'm at the grocery store and oh shit, I need like 10 more kroner in order to buy whatever I need, I could just send a message to my girlfriend and she could be like, hey, here you go. Here you have 10 kroner. And then I would be the one paying for the things. She wouldn't be the one. Like that information wouldn't come out of her data bank anyway. You're muted, by the way.
I swear I could figure this out. But the way you just described it right there, Rat, is it that instantaneous? Does it work that quickly?
Yes.
That's beautiful.
It's wonderful. It has honestly helped me. Like I can probably tell this story. Like I think it was around last Christmas. No, it must have been a little bit earlier than that. Last fall, somewhere around that time. I was sitting at a lecture, and I pulled up my computer, and my computer died instantly. And so I had to go buy myself a new computer, and I did not have the funds for that. And so I went to the store. I talked to my father in order to borrow some money for the computer, and he sent me a little bit of cash. And then I figured out, oh shit, I still don't have enough money for this computer that I need because it's still a little bit more expensive than the money I have after he sent me any money. So I contacted someone else, and that other person was like, oh yeah, sure, here you go. And like while I was in the store, I got that money, and then I could just pay for the computer and walk away.
I mean, that's huge because at least again, it's been about a decade since I've really been in the payment processing industry. But the way a lot of that stuff works is, all right, you'd have a swipe card. Basically, you'd have an event. All right, then that reaches out to using different networks through the different banking systems. It would reach out to that card company and be like, are these particular amount available? Do you have the credit for this, or is there enough money that can be debited from your account? Okay, then it sends it back. It says, yes, there is enough there. So basically, we're ding it on that end. However, the funds, as far as I understand, didn't necessarily get transferred or were closed out until the end of business that day. So whenever the business then finished up, that's why anybody that's worked in a lot of stores or anything, if you had a credit card processing machine, you would batch out. When I used to work as a petroleum dispensing technician, I pumped gas. We would batch out at the end of the night. You'd have that final thing, you do your tallies and everything, you submit your paperwork. Now, it sounds like, based upon what you've told me, this app is basically like, all right, hey, you need like another $200-300 for that computer. All right, boom, you got that, you get it, and then you can actually purchase your item and go on.
Yeah, and you don't actually need, like, for example, if you have the same bank as, like, if I were to have the same bank as my parents, for example, they wouldn't necessarily have to use Vipps in order to give me that money that instantaneously, because they could just wire me the money via the internet bank that I was talking about briefly earlier, and it would go just as quickly. But it's just that when you have Vipps, the app, it's less stressful. You don't have to log into anything. Like, well, you do have to log in to the app on your phone, but that's like you have a PIN number, or you can do it with like your fingerprint. And
it's one monetary app to rule them all.
Absolutely. Now, if you have different banks, though, like if I were in one bank and my dad was in another, then it would be better for him to use Vipps, because then it would go instantaneously. Whereas if he were to wire the money in the more traditional sense via the net bank, then that would maybe take a day before I received money. Right. So Vipps is a very effective app, and it's fairly secure as far as I know, at least. I've never lost money.
Well, that's the thing. The big thing is for me is like, if there was an issue, it's like, all right, if there's an issue, that's one of the benefits why a lot of times people are like, well, it's a big company. Because if it's a little smaller business, it's like there might be a decent chance that business may go out of business.
Oh. Well, for the people watching meme stream, hey, so he kind of just blinked out of reality. Oh, he's back. you disappeared.
Hold on, let me try this. I'll turn on. I'm going to blink back. Continue to tell the good people about.
See, it's just blinking in and out. Well, Vipps is just great. If you ever, everyone in Norway, like everyone, more or less everyone in Norway actually has this app, and it's fairly useful. It's very nice, and it's even gotten to the point where if you work in a store, a lot of people will actually end up asking you, "Hey, do you take payment by this app?" Which is great. I do think that we should move more and more in that direction, but I do not think that we should get rid of cash, because I do think that physical cash is also useful to have, especially for like what can I say, more impoverished people and all the older generations. Oh, all right.
I don't know. Do I exist?
Yes. Yeah. Welcome back.
I turn it off and turn it back on.
that is the eternal way of dealing with computer issues.
Now, as far as that Joe goes, it's like, I believe there's a place in Nevada you can go. I'm unsure if turning it off and turning it back on is the prescribed method for that. Oh, you're talking about the app. Okay, never mind.
I have a feeling that the app would actually work when it comes to like sex work, like, because the sex worker. Well, mainly I do think that sex workers in Norway, seeing as we have the horrible.
It's not criminal over there, is it?
Or? Well, doing sex work isn't criminal, but buying sex is criminal, and also we have this thing called the Nordic model, and it's terrible. If you want to look at a good video explaining these things, I know that PhilosophyTube has a very great video where he goes into detail about these different models. But usually they would want to be paid cash in Norway, I think. But yeah, you could theoretically just, use the app and just send 5,000 kroner or however much.
Now, could it be one of those things where you're not purchasing sex, you're purchasing a dinner and tipping the lovely person that's taking you out, for that really great experience at dinner. It just completely moved you, and you feel like, you know what, this person is very deserving of this, and then whatever happens.
Sure.
The donation.
I guess you could say it that way.
Dude, all I know is at one point I come back, roommate at the time, they may or may not have had some folks over. I'm like, oh, here's a beautiful woman. Oh, it seems to be hitting it off. Oh, all right. And then it's like, oh, well, you're gonna need this, and I'm gonna need a $500 donation. And I'm like, oh, this is not exactly what I expected. This doesn't necessarily surprise me. I mean, she seemed extremely interested, extremely quickly off the bat. Let's just say both of us went in there with different intentions. Okay, well, maybe we had different perspectives on the situation. She would have been worth it, but I'm just like, I'm going to do the old-fashioned thing and spend probably more than that on dinners, movies, and, well, I'm not sure those things still exist. You understand my sentiment.
Yeah. So, I actually wanted to talk to you a little bit as well about some other things, but we can wrap up the...
No, bring up whatever. Dude, and like, dude, the porn industry, dude, MasterCard and Visa pulled out of Pornhub.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I think that was the stream
There are still models working, so I'm not sure if they're using their ad revenue to pay for, like, their workers in the meantime, because, I mean, they still get, like, 3 billion hits a month, man, so... 10 million videos were taken down.
Yeah, I saw that. There's only like 3 million videos left on Pornhub. Like the largest.
No, I sent my thing and I'm waiting on my email to see if I got verified.
Nice.
It was my fastest growing platform.
Pornhub?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Well, to be fair, you are yoked, so you know. These days, with your training program, I would say that people would probably be interested in looking at your...
Well, this is the thing, dude. It's like, dude, all I was doing was just like posting my same videos I was putting on YouTube just onto Pornhub. It's like, here's the thing. You don't have to get naked on Pornhub. It's everything that you feel comfortable with. Dude, there were like 2A channels that were going on to Pornhub. I brought up an article the other day where literally the person was so devastated because he wouldn't be able to access all those Formula One races on Pornhub anymore. They took them down.
Yeah, I do remember, oh God, what was her name? One of the people that were on like the Red Eye stream, she also had a Pornhub account where she posted just her like vlogs or something. I can't remember. I think she was like she was a trans woman that was also like really into MGTOW, but I it's been so long.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, blonde.
It was what? Are you? Hold on. Are you talking about a lo-fi or? Oh, who else was it? There's a couple more. I'm sorry, ladies. As well as Hailbone. Welcome. You just happen to have us talking about various things about some trans gals that may or may not have been pretty big into MGTOW, as well as the VIPS payment processing app.
Yeah. So, do you still have like contact with the? Because I was trying to ask you about that, and then suddenly I saw the video about Mad Dodge. So do you still have contact with like people like MC and stuff like that? Like,
yeah. Oh, no. There's still. Well, what you just brought up right there is, and I sent you, I think, a server invite. But the big thing is, depending on, like, dude, we got like 8 billion people in the world. We're more connected than ever before. But there's so many folks that actually might hit it off pretty well that never get into contact with each other just because there's all these different platforms. Because like a YouTube platform right now that I have to do broadcasting on, as well as Facebook, also happens to be very different than if somebody happens to be only on Twitch or something, where Lord Saether is broadcasting from right now. So it's just, we have all these different connections, but yet we're still kind of separated. And the beautiful part about what I thought that app you were saying right there, it's like, this is an app where it's like, okay, here's a very simple to use. Does it seem overly fancy? No, but the sheer fact that it does the job, it's like, oh crap, I need money to help pay for this. Oh, you hit somebody up, it's like, hey, listen, could you get me this money? Blah, 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 blah. Boom, you can get this. You can move on quickly with your life. You don't have to wait till the end of the day and having all these ridiculous fees and everything that's taken away from you. Like, these are the certain things that I'm like, all right, if you're going to have a government-based service or a government inspired, because you said it was run by the national bank. So it's like, all right, the Federal Reserve wants to do this. It's like, all right, this kind of makes sense. I mean, the only thing that might be an issue with it is because, well, a lot of these processors would maybe lose out on processing fees.
Yeah. I have a feeling like they're probably making money somehow because everyone is using this app. So.
Well, this is the thing. There's always ways to make money. That's the thing. It's like I don't have a problem with people doing really smart, really useful things, being able to make a boatload of money. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just don't think it should be designed in a nature that's going to lend itself to, I don't know, have the incentive to kind of have the consumer not be in the best position. That's all I'm saying, because people are willing to spend good money on good quality products. It's just, if all of a sudden it's like, all right, it's kind of like going into like a casino. It's like you go into a casino for the experience of going into a casino. Some folks go out there and they make money. I know some folks that have made money. It's like, that works for some people, but your average Sally, Dick, or Jane, it's like people want an easier solution. That's why a lot of folks don't like purchasing used cars or just cars in general, because it's a negotiation. Some folks love negotiation. Some folks don't.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
As well as welcome Tina and Kay Shull as well. But yeah, well then this is the thing, Joe. It's like anytime you got the money moving around, I was talking with a couple of folks last night. It's like, all right, well, they spent like $6.2 trillion. Yes, Rat. I mean, Lord Saether. My apologies. You'll always be Rat in my heart. I can't forget that beard. But
are you dead naming me right now?
My apologies. My apologies.
I'm just joking, and I'm gonna get.
No, you called me out. Thank you.
No, it's fine. You can call me Rat. What you've known me as for.
Well, this is the thing. It's like we try, and that's the thing. As long as you're not doing it in a hateful fashion, it's like, who really cares?
Yeah.
But friends, for those of us just joining us, we are discussing the payment processing app VIPS. And I'm about to go on a real quick rant about our conservative president, President Donald Trump. And earlier this year, about 8 months ago, I had done a video about our conservative president happily signing in alongside such notable Republicans as Mitch McConnell, and I can't remember anyone else that was there, a 6.2, the 2.2, which was up to $6.2 trillion spending bill, which was the largest bill in history, which, if you actually take Andrew Yang's advice and you use the power of math, you divide that into 210 million adult Americans, that comes out to be $29,523. How much did people get? 1,200?
Imagine how much you could stimulate the economy by just giving all of that to everyone in the American
Well, this is the thing. It's like, we have to be honest. There have been people that have asked, that I remember newscasters have asked, if you won like Powerball or something, what would you spend it on? And one dude was like, hookers and blow. He's an honest man. He was an honest man.
Yeah.
Will that happen? Yes. Will everybody do that? If everyone does that, I don't think we're going to have to really worry about the pandemic regardless.
Yeah. But then again, you guys just got a new stimulus thing for, what was it, $600?
We spent the past 2 months arguing over $600. Not $600 a week. $600.
Like, okay, so to be fair, we haven't gotten a handout in that sense in Norway at all. But then again, we are also doing fine.
Rat, we could have had UBI of frick. We could have done 5,000.
Oh, damn it! He is.
Okay, I should be back now.
Wait.
We could have done 5,000. We could have done $5,000 a month, $1,250 a week in UBI for $5,000 a month for 6 months.
So in the primary, you supported Tulsi, right?
Yes.
What's your take on her now?
She's taken some pivots. I think some things she's done. Some things, are they for maybe political reasons, or I mean, just that's her particular opinion on things? I can
Yeah,
see why she's done it. I mean, do I agree with everything she says or does? No.
Yeah, and she did seem to kind of like take a turn into turf will.
Did she?
Yeah, with the whole anti-trans women bill that she proposed.
I didn't see that.
Oh,
What was
she
it part
proposed a bill for like, what was it she called it? Protection for Women in Sports Act or something like that.
Okay.
Where it was basically going to ban trans women from participating in the female sports, whereas most of research about this has actually shown that it's not usual to see like a great gap between trans women and cis women in sports, mainly because puberty blockers or hormone blockers and estrogen will kill off the testosterone production in the body of the trans woman. So I would, yeah. I would say that as long as you have like you can show that your results are on par with cis women, then I don't see the problem of having trans women competing in women's sports.
See, I thought the issue kind of came down, and this again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. I'm very ignorant on this. But to my knowledge, I thought it came down that basically if you happen to be an XY person and you had gone through a certain stage of puberty where you had an additional testosterone bone growth as far as density, it basically if you had testosterone fueled puberty privilege, that if you were at a level that basically the way you laid it out, that makes sense to me. But if you happen to have a certain variance of a greater degree rather than most XX people, I thought that was the issue.
Yeah, so this isn't really down my ballpark in a sense. So I would probably not be like the best person to explain it. But from the research I've seen, at least the hormone blockers combined with the female hormones should do that job. Like over time, your testosterone level and your bone density and all of that will actually go down. But it will take some time. Like you couldn't be like, come out one day, be like, hey, I'm trans, I've started hormone treatment, and then expect to be at the same level the next day. So, but there are some research about this. Let's see.
No, this is Tina is saying that the testosterone blockers do not eliminate the 40% difference in muscle mass between trans and cis women. I think that's assuming going through like basically like let's suppose I happen to go on like hormone blockers or something like that. Would I see a decrease in muscle mass and everything? Sure. But I'm also a 36-year-old fella, and I happen to have gone through, mostly to my knowledge, male puberty, just from the mess I made, in my opinion. And again, it's one of those things where I happen to have years of also like working out in the gym. So it's like my example may not necessarily be typical, but I'll tell you something that a wrestling coach told me back when I was like, I don't know, like the 5th or 6th grade. They said, guys and gals, it's like, because we had girls on our wrestling team, and the girls were freaking phenomenal, man. They were kicking butt. The thing is, the coach said, once you start getting up to high school and folks really start kind of ramping into puberty and stuff, he's like, the gals usually, at least on average, they tend not to be able to keep up with the guys. It's like, that's not always, because there's always extraordinary folks out there, but just on average, this is what he had told me there. But then we also get into the issue where I'm like, okay, if you want to have it be the most fair playing field possible, you essentially need to get into hormone blockers at a very young age, and then you get into, okay, does this person want to do this thing that's going to affect them for the rest of our life? And then we start. This is why I think for a lot of folks it's a complicated issue, and it gets presented as just it's either this or that. It's like, this is very nuanced. We're dealing with people at very sensitive points at their developmental experiences and everything, and we want to do the best we can for them. And it's like, what's the right answer? I don't know. I also don't have any children, so I assume parents are going to play a role. But yes, we've been talking about payment processing, and now we're talking about, yes, kids on hormone blockers. Welcome to the Memes of Destruction channel, everybody. We talk about all different things, this, that, and everything else. How did we transition from this? I love squirrels.
Whew. It's like I gotta be careful about that copyright. Yeah. So I could, of course, look more into the research. I know I've seen some research about all these things, but like I said fairly early on, I think it's not really my wheelhouse. So I'm just trying to like understand the issues based on the research I've seen, at least. So if anyone have like information that I haven't seen, that's fine. I'm not claiming to be like the arbiter of truth when it comes to these things.
And again, it's like, this is what, and again, I actually have a very diverse chat of people from all different backgrounds and everything. It's actually quite amazing when you're not necessarily just going gun-ho one way or the other. But according to Tina, she's saying it's high school and college women that are losing in the end because testosterone blockers don't start before 16 years of age. I assume, and again, I ain't a legislator, a lawyer, or anything like that. I'm sure that would depend on location, because what...
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds very much like a legislative thing. Like, you could put people on like puberty blockers and stuff like that earlier. And
well, the question is,
according to the research, according to the research I've seen, there's no actual harm to put someone on puberty blockers, and then if they decide that, hey, I do feel like a man, or like a guy, then you just take them off, and they will go through puberty like everyone else, just a little bit later. But of course, it's a lot of research that has to be done on this field, and this is not my academic field at all, so I don't feel too comfortable talking about exactly how these things work.
Right. And I think Jimbo, he's highlighting something that somebody had said. That's like, all right, you had the number 200 rank tennis player, basically somebody that was one of the 200 best fellas in the world, happened to beat Serena Williams. It's like, okay, yeah, no, that can happen. That doesn't necessarily surprise me at all. It's just like, then again, we've also had match play for years in tennis as well, where it's like you'd have one dude and one gal, and it's like people love watching that and everything. And that's the thing. It's like, all right, you want certain competitive sports, you want to be as fair as you can. It's like, all right, I understand this. This was also, I thought, the theory behind having different divisions and everything like that. I mean, or we could just get away from the differentiation and just let everybody just play together.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Like, my question is always like, to the people that are like, oh, we can't have trans women compete against cis women because trans women are men or whatever, and or have male more testosterone, all of that. So we can't have them compete against cis women because they would just beat the snot out of the cis women. Well, I'm like, okay, so who should they compete against then? Are you arguing that the people that have been killing off most of their testosterone production should be forced to play against or compete against cis men? Because that doesn't seem fair in my eyes either.
You want to know, and again, I apologize for my bigotry. My gut reaction, just for one particular reason, is like, okay, why don't you just have maybe another division? It's like, couldn't you have like trans gals facing like trans guys, and then we could find out once and for all who's better, girls or boys? It's like we're leveling the playing field as much as we can. Dude, I think those would be some amazing matches and stuff like that. I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm a sycophant. I apologize for my transphobia.
Yeah, so I've had that thought as well, but to my understanding, that gives people like a very bad taste in their mouth. They like feel very much like segregation would be a part of that. Like,
oh no, I mean, it totally is, and it's like upon further analysis, I'm like, yeah,
that seems very discriminatory.
It goes completely against. It's like, all right, I'm a person. I happen to not be born in the correct body. I want to do everything I can to feel how I actually truly am. And to do that, it's like, well, you're a guy or a gal. It's like you like you just said, it's like my sheer bigotry right there. It's like I literally just treated you as like a different human being.
Yeah. So yeah,
My apologies.
at least, like I said, from the research I've seen, yes, there are some differences, of course, but those differences are usually. Wait, let's see. I'm getting someone in chat here. The example of Mac Beggs is interesting because he was a trans boy forced to wrestle cis girls, and he dominated the league he was in. Wait, trans boy. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So that goes into what I'm saying. Like,
It's
if you then have like trans men, for example, like that logic would then say that trans men should then compete against cis women because trans women can't, and trans men would then also have the advantage of added testosterone. So you could either try to level the playing field, and of course you would have qualifications and say like, I'm sorry, your testosterone levels are too high. You started your transition too late in order to compete this year, maybe next year, whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to legislate that, but you could either do it that way, or you could say, well, you compete against the people that you that are of the gender that you were assigned at birth, and in that case, the trans men are probably going to dominate in their field, whereas the trans women are going to get crushed into oblivion most of the time.
Now, this is an absolutely fascinating discussion right here. We started off with a payment processing app, and we're here. I personally would like to save this for maybe another future conversation,
sure.
where maybe we could get some actual alternative perspectives as well. I have at least maybe one or two individuals in mind. You may or may not know some of them.
Is it MC? Is MC going to come in there and destroy me?
It's I owe MC a yelling at, because dude, after 2020, it's like, don't get me wrong, I can yell an absolute lot. I try to avoid it because then I hurt feelings.
You sound like you've always struck me as a very calm person, though. But I do remember like when we used to be on like the Red Eye stream. I do feel like we were always like the most left-leaning personalities on there. Me maybe more so than you were, but still, I did always feel like you and I were up against the rest of them.
Well, that's how it usually was, because we happened to bring up points, and then they got very angry about it.
But I think it's interesting because I don't know if you remember the debate I had with Mad Dodge about Norway versus USA. I think it's so interesting.
Is representing the red, white, and blue. It's like Norway's colors are red, white, and blue. Oh, well,
yeah,
fair enough.
I just think it's so interesting because that video is still up on my YouTube channel, and if I go into that and I watch it, I'm always struck by the thought now that I am the only one in this video that is still alive.
That's true. That is true. I mean,
it's fucking. But do we? You don't have to say anything on air or anything, but do we know like the cause?
I haven't heard. As far as Mad went, basically he just kind of went in his sleep, according to what I had heard.
Oh, okay. I was.
I'm slowly eating my hair.
I was a bit devastated about it because the thing is that, like I mentioned earlier on my stream, at least, Mad Dodge was the first. Like his community was the first online community that I was a part of.
Right.
So if it wasn't for him, in a sense, I wouldn't have ever talked to you, and I wouldn't have talked to Lapis, and because she came on in that stream after she had debated 40 ounce, and so many of these, and that again would have then made it so that I wouldn't have talked to Chud Logic, which is now a comrade of mine, I would say, and so a lot of this is thanks to him, and a lot of my like online life is in many ways thanks to him, and I was really sad when I heard that he's gone.
Everyone affects everybody.
Absolutely. Let's see. People always assume cis women are TERFs if they want to discuss it. unfortunately.
I think the issue we run into, and I think you just kind of hit about it. It's discussing something. I think is typically fine because very often I have a lot of discussions. It's just a lot of times people express their opinion as a fact, and that's where, especially if you're doing it in a very overzealous fashion, as a very sensitive topic for some folks, it may lead to some agitation. And we all know nobody would ever escalate anything on the internet.
Absolutely. But that's the thing too. Like I feel like a lot of people could have done with a couple of years in academia, and I'm not saying that as like a ivory tower kind of thing, but I do feel like if you look at people with PhDs and stuff like that, like people that have excelled in their academic field, they are usually super humble when it comes to talking about things that are not inside of their area of expertise, maybe except for people like Jordan Peterson. But most like
like Professor Peterson, he's a pretty good wizard.
Sure.
I disagree with him on things. That was one of the reasons why I spent the extra $40 to go in there, and then I looked at my room. So I just told him he was a pretty good wizard. Was a wizard. There's a person that changes the world around them via their words and actions. Excuse me, their verbal and semantic components. I was ripping off D&D, then I screwed up the analogy. I see you there, Fat Steven. It's all right. Don't be poking in here. Don't go beating up people. I don't condone your violence.
But the thing is, like, I remember I read 12 Rules for Life, and I was like, well, yeah, sure, the book is fine. But I felt like, yeah, the book is fine, but it doesn't really give me any new proper ideas about how to run my life. And also, he references the Bible like obscurely much in his book, and it was to such a point that I was bugged by it. But also, what I don't like about people like Jordan Peterson is that he has he seems to me like he feels entitled to talk about things that are so far out of his area of expertise that he almost gives academia a bad name in and of itself just from doing that. Like when he's talking about cultural Marxism or neo-Marxism and postmodernism, it is very obvious to people that study these, postmodernism, that he doesn't actually know what he's talking about.
You mean like Zizek when they had that debate?
Yes.
And then at that point where Zizek was like, I hear you talking all the time about these postmodern neo-Marxists. And my question is, I know 4 of them. Where are all these postmodern neo-Marxists? And Professor Peterson was like, nobody ever called them on it before.
Yes, and I do think that people like that. People need to watch that debate or that talk, because I'm like, just the introduction to that talk was just so interesting, because they were going to talk about capitalism, communism, and happiness, and they were going to kind of like critique all of them. And Zizek came in there as a fucking absolute Chad, like he is. Whereas what Jordan Peterson did to prepare for it was that he read the Communist Manifesto.
I remember reading it in college. It's about 39, 40 pages. So
yeah, and I'm like, okay, so that's you're going to have a discussion or debate or whatever with like one of the leading philosophers in the world. And what you do in order to prepare for that is that you read a pamphlet.
I've only met one person ever that's read Das Kapital.
Well,
it's like 1,200 pages. It's a big book.
Yeah, well, if you, I made a tweet.
Is it on Audible? Maybe I'll listen to it.
It actually is. I made a tweet quite some time ago where I said that if you haven't read Marx, you are not equipped to critique Marx. Because I do feel like a lot of the people that criticize Marx a lot, they have never read anything that he wrote. And a lot of people that praise Marx also have probably not read that.
Well, this is the thing. It's like, all right, if your primary source work is going to be 1,000 pages and almost nobody's read it, it's that was one of the things I did with Professor Peterson. He kept on referencing the first book, Math for Meaning. I've listened to half of it on Audible. I still need to finish the second half. I feel like I've gotten a lot out of it. Do I agree with absolutely everything? But
especially with like Jordan Peterson, is like in particular when he always does that if you wanna know more about this, then you should read these 20 books, and that's like a thing he always does. And that makes me think that maybe he should have probably read up before he came.
He should have read the book.
Yeah, or he should at least.
Okay, no, that's a fair criticism.
Yeah, or maybe he could have read some of Zizek's work to prepare for it. So my point is
to be fair to Professor Peterson, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I watched both him and Kathy Newman, as well as Kathy Newman with Zizek. She seemed to be a bit more friendly, even though he was still a Zizek and stuff, and she did press him and everything. So, I mean, to be fair, it is what it is. But, I mean, I think they may have also been priorly spoken before. So
yeah, probably. I also think that Peterson's talk with Matt Dillahunty, that one's also interesting.
Because
Dillahunty kind of undresses all of his religious pandering. But yeah, so my feeling of Peterson is that he seems, a lot of people are going to criticize me for this, because to me he seems like a pseudo-intellectual in the way he carries himself. Not by the fact, I know he has a PhD and all of that. I know that he could objectively be seen as an intellectual, even though he's
also a showman. He puts on a good show.
Yes, and he also panders to these very pop science ideas, and that shows me very much that he is if he isn't a pseudo-intellectual, his persona is definitely one. Whereas people like Zizek has written 40 books, right. And he is a hard-hitting academic. He has 2 PhDs or something like that, as well as a bachelor's degree. Whereas Peterson has a PhD in psychology.
He might have a minor in biology. I'm unsure about this.
Yeah, and he's written 2 books, and both of them are self-help books. One of them is a self-help book. The other one is
kind of why you kind of respond to different things. And some of the research and stuff he was citing, the way he explained it, I do think I found that extraordinarily useful to explain a lot of things. I haven't read 12 Rules for Life.
It's fine. It's not great. You can find better self-help books out there, but it's all right, I guess.
Okay.
Some of his advice is fine. Pet cats.
That's the thing. Does it have a positive effect? Yeah. My thing is net gain. If people are doing better and doing better things and they have positive outcomes, I don't really have a problem. It's I don't got to agree with the dude, man, because there's nobody I agree with everything on. It's that's just life there. But Rat, did you have any closing remarks? I'm sorry, I gotta go out and gotta do my little run and everything like that. But
it's all right. Hey, it was very nice to see you again, and I do wish that we can have another talk, maybe a little bit more long form in the future. Thank you so much for having me on. For everyone that is watching that maybe find me a little bit interesting, I am Lord Saether at Twitch, twitch.tv/Lord Saether. Please come and follow me, subscribe to me. I need that money. And you also get super cool emotes if you sub to me. Yeah, I'll see you later, memes. And also, if you want to have some outro to my people, then you are free to talk to them. And I think he froze.
It's all right. We can come back at some point here at the end of the show. But hey, if you want to check out that beautiful beard, you can always roll over to Twitch and check out Lord Saether. So with that, thank you all for watching. Peace out, everybody. Be safe. Long live the elbow bump. And Squirrelies, take us out. We won't be back. 낮에는 따사로운 인간적인 여자 커피 한 잔에 여유를 아는 품격 있는 여자 오빤 강남스타일 강남스타일